Hi, my name is Alicia Young, and this presentation is Special Education Interviews. I began by interviewing three people: a principal, Christy O'Toole, that represents elementary, a special education elementary teacher, Phyllis Cotner, and a middle school paraprofessional, Shelley Compton. I found this quote: "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success." I kind of thought that this really captured an essence of the theme that I felt kind of came out after interviewing all three of my candidates here. So we begin by looking at the child find procedures. The principal shared that they use a program called Screen for Success, and this was advertised. The Parents as Teachers Resource Center also advertised it. At pre-K enrollment, parents fill out a questionnaire, and depending on if they identified any at-risk indicator, then it might be recommended that they participate in the Screen for Success. And then, of course, there also could be a parent request or a teacher request. The special ed teacher said that most of the time the students come to her, they've already been identified, so she didn't do a lot of work with those child find procedures, but did know that there were some places in town that offered the screening. And then the paraprofessional said that she didn't have any experience with the child find procedures. And again, she was a middle school para. So as far as the most challenging part of their role in regards to special ed, the principal shared that the most challenging was that a lot of teachers get frustrated when students are not being successful, and they feel like if they can identify them as special ed, then that's just somehow going to be magical and that it's going to fix all the problems. And that is a challenging because that's not the case. And so really having folks understand that the philosophy of special education, in the philosophy that the goal is the problem-solving process and working to find out what is really going to work to meet the students' needs. And the other piece was that the psychologist is often seen as the gatekeeper, and that can be very challenging and not build strong relationships or have a good culture. The special education teacher said that the most challenging thing for her was serving all the students. Depending on their identification, they may have be identified with an emotional label or a behavior label, or they might have a learning disability, but having all those students in the class at one time and then differentiating and meeting their needs can be very challenging. And the paraprofessional, she said one of the things that's most challenging as a paraprofessional is that if the teachers don't trust and respect them to make really good decisions about instruction for those students, then they don't feel valued professionally, and that is definitely a challenge. Time for communication with the regular education teachers was definitely another challenge. And then sometimes student behaviors can be challenging. They spend a lot of time with these kids and then often have these kids for several years. The most rewarding, as far as working with special ed, the principal said was, and really everybody agreed on this, that when those students make progress, that is the most rewarding. And then the principal and the special ed teacher agreed that when parents recognize the success of their students and of the special education services and they're appreciative, that is also very rewarding. The paraprofessional said that in addition to seeing growth on a day-to-day, that it was really the most rewarding was that when they were older in high school, graduated from high school, or maybe even got a job, and really watched them become a successful adult, and know that they maybe had a little bit of part of them, that success and how they impacted them in their life, was really rewarding for them. And I love that. So when I asked what advice that they would give on supervision of staff, the principal feels very strongly about schedules, and that because that is really important that those structures are in place for those students' minutes to be met. Also, the principal said communicating what the IEP says and making sure that that's happening so that everyone is able to meet the needs of the students, providing time for collaboration, and not just collaboration, but also providing a culture and time for teachers that are working together to build relationships. The special ed teacher thought it was really important that unique strategies were shared with educators on how to support the students. And whereas oftentimes that's kind of gets left off, and they focus more on the technical pieces of the IEP rather than really the strategies that would help the students. So she would like to see that, and that was her advice. And then the paraprofessional said that her advice was really to trust the staff and to be collaborative and to really be a support when it came to the district policies and the laws and regulations. When I asked them how they effectively work with parents, the principal shared that she likes to have an open line of communication with the parents and really prepare them for what they might expect at an IEP meeting, because she knows that those can be very intimidating. And the special ed teacher said that she worked effectively with parents by really just having them look at their student as a child, their child, and not really seeing the label. She also thought it was really important to provide realistic strategies to the parents to do at home. And then most importantly, when working with those parents, was to put yourself in those shoes, because sometimes she would have parents that were just exhausted with dealing with some of these issues at home, and they didn't want to be called during the day when there was trouble. She really wanted the teacher at the school to be, be an advocate and an asset to that family, that they could take care of that child during the day. So just really having empathy and putting yourself in their shoes so you knew how you would want to support them best. Helped her to work effectively with the parents. And then the paraprofessional said she really only works with the students and she didn't have any communication with the parents. So how to work well with the regular education teachers. The principal said, sharing that information about accommodations with regular ed teachers, modeling a caring and supportive behavior, and accepting behavior was really important with regular education teachers, and then being encouraging and knowing that sometimes they were going to face challenges, was how she worked with her regular education teachers when it came to supporting their special education students. The special education teacher shared some experiences that were both good and bad. She said that really what was effective was when they looked at the students and considered them our kids, and not just, those kids are the special education students, and that's the responsibility of the special ed teacher. So really working as a team to focus on the needs of the students. And, there were times when they didn't really feel like they were welcomed in the classroom, that they didn't belong in that classroom. And so if that was the case, then the special ed teacher just really made that student feel that they were welcomed with her. The paraprofessional said that she had both good and bad as well, and with some classrooms that she was seen as a team player. They would co-teach and use strategies to support the needs of the students, and that communication between her and the regular education teacher was key. When I asked what advice they would give to a first-year administrator, the principal said to work with the special education teachers and know the schedules and know the minutes that need to be provided for those students. The special ed teacher said to be visible in those classrooms so that those teachers feel that their classes matter, that they're important, and that they're not just doing walkthroughs in regular ed classrooms, but they're also doing their walkthroughs in the special ed classrooms. And they said to know the laws. And then the paraprofessional also agreed it was important for the principal to know the laws. They rely on them to know the district policies and the regulations. And she also shared, to be collaborative and not to undermine the decisions of the special education department, to be firm on discipline with the students, but still be caring and build relationships with those students at the same time. So I thought she had a great advice. As far as the role of the special education teacher and the administrator, the principal said that both are responsible for managing the IEP, for knowing the laws, for following the laws, and providing for the needs of the students. The special education teacher said that it was really important that the principal really relied on the special education teacher and trusted her judgment, trusted her to document everything that needed to be documented to support the students. And so really having an open communication, having respect and trust, and then they really knew that they were looking out for the best interest of each other when they were working to support that student. And then the paraprofessional said really to manage the IEPs, it was both responsibility and supporting the accommodations and modifications, and that everybody knew what those were and how to do those were responsibilities of both. Following the laws and the regulation, knowing the regulations were the responsibility of both, and then educating all staff on the best practices, the regular teachers, paras, everybody in the building to support the students. The characteristics that they said that they would hope to see in an administrator were principals. They pretty much all kind of said the same thing, but the principal said, caring, knowledgeable person, and somebody also who is detail oriented that can keep up with all these different things. The special ed teacher, she said, in addition to caring, she said empathy, a calm demeanor, but also practical, and then was able to facilitate and bring out the best in everybody that is working together to fulfill the IEP and meet the needs of the students, because you have a lot of people involved when you have a special education student. And the paraprofessional said the characteristics she liked to see in an administrator was positive, relational, somebody who was collaborative and supportive, yet calm, again, came up. And then, again, firm on policies, firm on discipline, and supported the decisions of the special education teachers and paras. And so, again, they really have a great relationship and they work closely together, and lots of their answers aligned, and they provided a lot of great perspectives. So that is my interview on special education educators. Thank you.